Hello, welcome to the self learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we are going to start Unit 17 Libertarianism, and we start our lecture with topic civil society. A great degree of order in society is necessary for individuals to survive and flourish. It is easy to assume that order must be imposed by a central authority. The way we impose order on a stamp collection or a football team. The great insight of libertarian social analysis is that order in society arises spontaneously out of the action of thousands or millions of individuals who coordinate their action with those of others in order to achieve their purpose over human history. We have gradually opted for more freedom and yet managed to develop a complex society with an intricate organization. The most important organization in human society, law, language, money, and market, all developed spontaneously without central direction. Civil society is another example of spontaneous order. The associations within civil society are formed for a purpose, but civil society itself is not an organization and does not have a purpose of its own. The associations we form with others can make up what we call civil society. Those associations can take an amazing variety of forms: family, churches, schools, clubs, fraternal societies, condominiums, associations, neighborhood groups, and the myriad forms of commercial society, such as partnerships, corporations, labor unions, and trade associations. All these associations serve human needs in different ways. Civil society may be broadly defined as all the natural and voluntary associations in society. Some analysts distinguish between the commercial and non-profit organizations, arguing that business is a part of the market and not of civil society. But according to Buzz, the real distinction is between associations that are coercive, that is the state, and those that are natural or voluntary. Everything else. Whether a particular association is established to make a profit or to achieve some other purpose, the key characteristic is that our participation in it is voluntary chosen. It should be noted that associations within the civil society are created to achieve a particular purpose, but civil society as a whole has no purpose. It is the undersigned, spontaneously emerging result of all those purposive associations. These associations give people connections with other people. No one of them, however, evaluates one's personality and defines one completely. In this libertarian conception, we connect to different people in different ways on the basis of free and voluntary consent. Ernest Jenner says that modern civil society requires a modular man instead of a man who is entirely the product of and absorbed by a particular culture. Modular man can combine into specific purpose. Ad hoc, limited associations without binding himself by some blood ritual. He can form links with others which are effective even though are flexible, specific, instrumental, and as individuals combine in myriad ways. Community emerges, not the close community of the village or the messianic community promised by, say, for example, by Marxism, National Socialism, and all fulfilling religions, but a community of free individuals in voluntary chosen associations. Individuals do not emerge from community, community emerges from individuals. It emerges not because anyone plans it, certainly not because the state creates it, but because it must. To fulfill their need and desires, individuals must combine with others. Society is an association of individuals governed by legal rules, or perhaps an association of associations, but not one large community or one family. Membership in a group need not diminish one's individuality. It can amplify it by freeing people from the limits they face as lone individuals and increasing their opportunities to achieve their own goals. Such a view of community requires that membership be chosen and not compulsory. Now, the next point is political economy and the problem of redistribution. Libertarianism claims that the only economic order that respects individual freedom is the free market. To them, the free market is an example of freedom in action. At the heart of the free market is the voluntary bilateral exchange. If two parties exchange some good voluntarily or make some contract voluntarily, then so long as this does not involve the violation of another's right, no one has the right to interfere in it. According to libertarians, the free market is the sum of the voluntary exchanges and contracts going on in a society, nothing more and nothing less. Any distribution that occurs in the operation of a free market is therefore just since at no stage has anyone's right been violated and all the exchanges were voluntary. For example, Hayek proposed that the rules of conduct in a society are evolving, that they survive because they are useful and help that society survive. The market, he believed, had survived the test of time, in that the most successful societies were market based in some way. The market is superior to other economic systems since it handles human ignorance by passing information in coded form through the price mechanism, which indicates areas where profits could be made and resources efficiently used. It does all this and allocates resources without being predicted on any specific goals or assuming what the goals of the people are. It also facilitates freedom in that for it to work, there need to be rules demarcating, protecting domains for each person where no other has the right to interfere. The market arises from the fact that humans can accomplish more in cooperation with each other than individually, and the fact is that we can recognize this. If we were a species for whom cooperation was not more productive than isolated work, or if we were unable to discern the benefit of cooperation, then we would not only remain isolated and atomistic, but as Ludwig von Mises explains, each man would have been forced to view all other men as his enemies. His craze for satisfaction of his own appetites would have brought him into an implacable conflict with all his neighbors. Without the possibility of mutual benefit from cooperation and the division of labor, neither feelings of sympathy and friendship nor the market order itself could arise. Those who say that humans are made for cooperation and not competition fail to recognize that the market is cooperation. Many people accept that markets are necessary but still feel that there is something vaguely immoral about them. They feel that markets lead to inequality or they dislike the self interest reflected in markets. Markets are often called brutal or dog cat's dog, but libertarians believe that markets are not only essential to economic process but that they are more consensual and lead to more virtue and equality than government cautions. This is done through information and coordination, prices, efficiency in production, technological innovations, and competition. Firstly, markets are based on consent. No businessman sends an invoice for a product not ordered. No business can force anyone to trade. Businessmen try to find out what is required by the consumers. Whatever is produced is done so in response to or in anticipation of consumer demand, since the only way in which the producer can maximize his own position is by selling his goods to the consuming population. But where do they get the information? It is not in a massive book. In the market economy, it is not embodied in orders from a planning agency. Secondly, this vital information about other people's wants is embodied in prices. Prices do not just tell us how much something costs at the store. The price system pulls together all the information available in the economy about what each person wants, how much he values it, and how it can best be produced. Prices make that information usable to the producer and the consumer. Each price contains within it information about consumer demands and about cost of production, ranging from the amount of labor needed to produce the item to the cost of labor to the bad weather on the other side of the world that is raising the price of the raw materials needed to produce the good. The information that prices deliver allows people to work together to produce more. The point of an economy is not just to produce more things, it is to produce more things that people want. Prices tell all of us what other people want. The price system reflects the choices of millions of producers, consumers, and resource owners who may never meet and coordinates their efforts. Although we can never feel affection for or even meet everyone in the economy, market prices help to work together to produce more of what everyone wants. Unlike a government which at best takes the will of the majority and imposes it on everyone, market uses prices to let buyers and sellers freely decide what they want to do with their money. Thirdly, competition between the producer ensures that the most efficient one to supply the consumer market, since only they will be able to produce good cheaply. The consumer, in maximizing his economic welfare, purchases only at the lowest available price. Fourthly, since producers can improve their economic position by expanding their market, each producer will be in constant competition with others. Seeking to expand one's market can be accomplished only by reducing prices, and this can be achieved only by reducing production cost via technological innovations. The system automatically generates technological change and development. And lastly, the market system is highly competitive. As explained above, it is precisely through competition that it can be found how things can be produced at the least cost. By discovering who will sell raw material or labor services for the lowest price. Any interference with free competition between economic units will defeat the system's ability to provide automatically the advantages described above. Also, rapid and smooth shifts of labor and capital must be possible from one industry to another. People are motivated by material well being and by economic gain. Hence, to the extent that they are deprived of economic incentives, the market mechanism will break down or seriously compromised as a basis for allocation of goods and services. The basic question, according to the libertarian, is how to combine all the resources in society, including human effort, to produce the greatest possible output which will satisfy people most. It is through competition to attract new customers that this coordination is generated. It is possible that many firms may not do well and could be out of business. This, according to libertarians, is the creative destruction of the market. Harsh as the consumer's judgment may feel to someone who loses a job or an investment, the market works on the principle of equality. In a free market, no firm gets special privileges from the government, and each must constantly satisfy consumers to stay in business. Thus, far from inducing self interest as critics charge, in the marketplace, the fact of self interest induces people to serve others. Markets reward honesty because people are more willing to do business with those who have a reputation for honesty. Markets reward civility because people prefer to deal with courteous partners and suppliers. Apart from defending market freedoms and limitations on the use of the state for social welfare policies, libertarians are opposed to any redistributive taxation system. It believes that redistributive taxation is inherently wrong, a violation of the people's right. People have a right to dispose of their goods and services freely, as Nozick put it. People have rights and they are things no person or group may do to them without violating their rights. So strong and far reaching are these rights that they raise the question of what, if anything, a state and its official may do. This has been best explained by Robert Nozick in his famous entitlement theory. The central theme of the entitlement theory is that if we assume that everyone is entitled to the goods they currently possess, then a just distribution is simply whatever distribution results from people's free exchanges. Any distribution that arises by free transfer from a just situation is itself just. For the government to tax these exchanges against anyone's will is unjust, even if the taxes are used to compensate for the extra cost of someone's undeserved natural handicap. The only legitimate taxation is to raise revenues for maintaining the background institutions needed to protect the system of free exchange, that is, the police and the justice system needed to enforce people free exchanges. This entitlement theory is based upon three principles. The principle of transfer, that is, whatever is justly acquired can be freely transferred. Two, the principle of just initial acquisition, that is, how people come to own things initially, which can be transferred according to the first principle. Third principle of rectification of injustice, how to deal with acquisitions which are unjustly acquired or transferred. To give an example, if I own a plot of land, the principle of transfer tells me to engage in any transfer I wish. The principle of acquisition tells me how the plot initially came to be owned, and principle of rectification of justice tells me what to do if the first two principles are violated. Taken together, if people's current holding are justly acquired, then the formula of just distribution is from each as they choose to each as they are chosen. Nojek gives two arguments as to why the claims of people entitlement should be accepted. First, free exchange of property is more attractive, and property right lies in self ownership. The first argument, that is, the free exercise of property, is more attractive. It is that if we have legitimately acquired something, we have absolute property rights over it, then we can freely dispose it of as we see fit, even though the effect of these transfers is likely to be massively unequal distribution of income and opportunity. Given that some people are born with different natural talents, some people will be amply rewarded while those who lack marketable skills will get few rewards. Due to these underserved differences in natural talents, some people will flourish while others will starve. These inequalities are the result of unrestrained capitalism. Though he admits that it seems unfair for people to suffer undeserved inequalities in their access to the benefits of social cooperation. But the problem is that people have rights over their income. As he says, no one has a right to something whose realization requires certain uses of things and activities that other people have rights and entitlements. The second argument is the principle of self ownership. By this, Nozak means that the people should be treated as end in themselves. The heart of the Nozak theory is that individuals have rights and there are things no person or group may do to them without violating their right. Society must respect these rights because they reflect the underlying Kantian principle that individuals are ends and not merely means. They may not be sacrificed or used for the achievements of others ends without their consent. Because we are distinct individuals with distinct claims, there are limits to the sacrifices that can be asked of if one person for the benefit of others. Libertarian society treats individuals not as instruments or resources, but as persons having individual rights with the dignity this constitutes. In short, entitlement theory believes that recognizing people as self owners is crucial to treating people as equal, and only unrestricted capitalism recognizes self ownership. Here we want to wind up today's lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.